What's going on, guys? Welcome to the David F. Haas podcast. We are episode 131, and I'm here with someone I just met, Christian Saab, the owner of CPG Recruitment. And kind of a funny story. Christian reached out to me yesterday. He said, "Hey, man, saw the podcast. Would love to be on as a guest." And I said, "What are you doing tomorrow?" With like a 12-hour notice. He said, "I'll be there." And so that's like an element of willingness for him to kind of show up. And so here we are. We don't even know each other, but
nice to meet you.
Windsor's a small place, and so I'm sure we have lots of
My office is 4 minutes down the road.
Oh, no way. How about that? See?
Wyandotte, Lausanne. I could have walked here.
There we go. See? Yeah, you're close to where I live, actually. I live in that area, just like off of Riverside Drive. But anyways, first of all, thanks for taking the time. Thanks for reaching out.
Thanks for having me.
As a podcast host, we're always looking for podcast guests. So, and especially people that are like kind of in business in Windsor, those are the people I want to talk to. Mm-hmm. And so I figure we would just do like a getting to know each other. And also we'll talk about some of the challenges you've had, like what you've been able to do to create this new business. And it seems like it's growing really well from what I've been able to see really quickly. Yeah. So like, why don't you give me like a little rundown of like what it is exactly you do? And then, and then
how about a little synopsis? So sure. I'm actually not even from Windsor. I moved here 10 years ago, graduated with an engineering degree from Toronto. The Windsor Assembly Plant hires me as an engineer, and that's how my career started. And that's how I ended up in Windsor. Spent 3 years there. About a year and a half in, I realized I'm like, there's something missing. There's no way this is what life is going to offer me for the rest of my life. Kind of saw, I called them the dead man walking, which is people showing up to work every single day, but they're dead inside, just miserable. Absolutely. And I saw them by the thousands. So I'm like, that's not where I want to be. And, I was trying to figure out what's going to be next. I got to get out of there. And then I decided my whole path led me to with all the homework that I did, it was all have your own business. And so I took my first leap of faith. I said, you know what, before going all in and starting something complicated, if you can't run a car wash, you can't run anything. I started a detailing company. It was called Convenient Perfection Mobile Detailing. So I built these vans that I put my own water, my own electricity in there. We come right to you, clean your car in and out, more of a higher end service. And ran that business for 4 years and sold it. It's still around today. The guy's running it just on Walker and Wyandotte.
Is that what's his name?
His name's Eunice.
Yeah,
Eunice. So that was the business that I started. Him and his brother bought it for me. So
nice.
And then when I sold that business, it was because I was starting CPG Recruitment. So I went from engineer to car wash to recruitment. And the story, the more in-depth story, we'll dive into it. How I ended up deciding on owning a recruitment company was because the detailing business, 70% of my customers were business owners. Mm-hmm. My cheapest service was $150. So it was fairly, some guys would spend anywhere from $150 to a couple thousand, depending on, we were doing cars, boats, RVs. So my audience was a higher profile audience. And at the time of my life, I was just between 24 and 27. Yeah. I was searching for what's going to be my forever business. I'd already proven to myself that I could run a company because I was able to leave a full-time $100,000 a year job and replace my income overnight, essentially, with this detailing business. So I said, if I could do that with just car washes, when I have a real business, for me, the car wash business to me didn't feel like a real business. I wanted something big, something extraordinary. So the detailing business taught me how to be a great business owner. I learned how to market. I learned how to hire staff and fire staff and train staff. I learned how to have good customer service, taking care of the customer. I learned the finances, tracking the money of the business, and understanding patterns in your business. And so the 4 years of running a detailing business was essentially an MBA program for me, and if not better. And then
definitely better
because it was real life, angry customers, happy customers, employees quitting on you. You don't learn that in an MBA program, right? So, but the pattern that I picked up. So if you were one of my customers and I got the hint that you were a business owner, I wanted to understand what you did for a living and more so the business model of it. I was very curious about like, how are people making money, learning how money travels in their industry. Because I didn't know what industry I wanted to go in. So I was kind of doing my own research of every industry by just talking to people. And then my next question was, what's the biggest headache in your business? So when you were running Treehouse, what was the biggest headache in your business?
Staff. Yeah.
Staff. So for 2 years, I kept hearing someone would tell me, from somebody who doesn't have employees and would say I'd never have employees because I don't trust them, all the way to a guy who's a billionaire who has 1,000 employees, says my 1,000 employees are my biggest headache, and everything in between. I saw the problem. Like, there's something there. Like, if everybody's complaining about this one thing, well, what if I got good at it? So then I did a little bit more homework, discovered the recruitment industry, and I said, this is a no-brainer. I can make money anywhere in the world if I got good at this. So, and here we are today. What is the
recruitment model? Like, how do you make money as a recruiter? Essentially, you get paid a percentage of...
So companies will call me saying, Christian, I need help finding staff. And first thing what I want to define is there's two types of recruitment companies out there. There's temporary and like placement agencies, and then there's recruitment firms. 95% of the market has placement agencies where the employee belongs to the agency. The actual company that needs the staff is essentially borrowing them. They put them on contract. You hear a lot of people say they're on contract, they're not fully employed, but even though they're showing up to work every single day like a full-time job, but the actual business isn't tied to that employee. So the business will pay by the hour a premium. If they'll pay the staffing company $50 an hour, and then the staffing company pays the employee $30 an hour.
Gotcha.
Okay. And it's not so much that the staffing company is taking away from the employee, it's that you're paying a premium on the hour. Like, if you were to hire that person, it would be $30 an hour for you, but you're paying that 20 to not have to have them staffed by you.
Yes.
Okay. And just to borrow them. If you wanted to borrow someone for 2 weeks, you can have a body come in, take care of something for 2 weeks, and then just call a staffing company saying, I don't need them anymore. That's 95% of the market. Then there's a small percentage of recruitment firms. That's companies like us, where we are, the street language is headhunters.
Okay.
So the nature of my work is every employee that you ask for from me, they're employed by you. My job is just to do the work, to find someone and put them in a room with you. And if you like them, you'll hire them.
Gotcha.
So our customers, they either are paying a finder's fee, which they'll pay 30 days after they've employed somebody to make sure they're the right person. So we'll do the first round, 2 rounds of interviews, then they do their own rounds of interviews, then they get a start date, then they have 30 days to make sure it's the right person.
Yep.
At 30 days, they'll call me saying, this person's been fantastic. Come get your check, Christian.
Yeah.
That's it.
And so, like, if you're comfortable with it, like, because I'm just interested in the business model. And the other thing I do want to go, and I just want to kind of put this here so we go back there, is like, I'm interested in like the leap from Chrysler to, so I want to talk about that a little bit. But while we're on the topic of your current business, it's like, let's say I'm looking for $100,000 a year employee, right? You know, upper management, something along those lines. And then you find me the right guy or girl. How much money do you get from that?
It's a 20% finder's fee. So it would be 20,000 for that. We do a range depending on how long you've been a customer with us, how many people you want. It could go anywhere between 15 and 20% of a finder's fee. And then there's a second type of customer where, what if somebody's hiring 3, 4, 5 people a month, like very regularly, like the restaurant industry that has hundreds of employees and there's always turnover. Those customers, they pay us a monthly flat rate because it would be extremely expensive per person. They're paying us to simply just be the vetting and the recruiting and the initial portions of the advertising, putting up the postings, dealing with the influx of applicants. Those customers, you know, it starts at $5,000 a month and up to whatever, depending on the demand, where we are their recruitment department. So that's something a little unique on our part. Not a lot of, actually, I haven't met anybody that's doing it that way. I kind of invented that one. I'm sure it's somewhere out there, but I saw a need, especially like in manufacturing, the restaurant industry, anywhere where there's constant turnover, where it's like all the time we're hiring. That's been an awesome model. Half of my business right now is that, where they're paying us to be their experts and I'm their recruitment manager essentially. And it's been a very, very good model.
Yeah. I mean, like that was like really intuitive of you, you know, to like kind of follow the problem essentially, you know, and I've talked about that a lot on this podcast, is that business is all about just solving problems for people. And so you were listening to all these business owners who are cleaning their cars and boats and stuff, and they're saying this is the problem. And so how did you get to recruitment? It was just from like, how am I going to solve this the staffing problem, and that led you to recruitment essentially?
Exactly. Yeah. So I've always been that problem in solving, especially the engineering mindset in me. It was just natural, even with my detailing business. And to touch on what you wanted to get to, like, how did I jump from, you know, my job at Chrysler to being confident in a mobile detailing business? And it all came by one day I was sitting on my couch and I'm like, I got 2 cars in the driveway and a boat and I'm too lazy to clean them. Mm-hmm. And I know I don't need to take them anywhere. If I could do it in my driveway, someone else could do it in my driveway. Yep. And it was like, well, I looked up mobile detailing and I didn't see it anywhere in Windsor. And I'm like, you know what? There you go. I'm sure I'm not the only guy with this problem. Yeah. And I was right. I hit it perfectly. We'd have, you know, 5-6 customers a day that we'd go to right to their home and take care of them. So I've always been that problem solving mentality. I think every business is born from, if you see a problem and you truly believe you're the best solution out there, then you'll never not have customers.
Yeah. And I don't even think you need to be the best solution out there.
Just like, a good one. Yeah. A fair, decent one. Yeah, you just need to be good that when your customer's paying you, they say that was worth the money.
100%.
That's it.
Yeah. and I think, you know, a big model is it's like, when you start dealing with people that have money, it's like, they don't care so much about the money. They care about the time that you're saving them. Right. You know, it's like, I was just sitting around with my friends the other day and I was like, man, there should be a service where people come and check your pool chemicals and like make sure everything's running. Cause like my liner in my pool like just faded because I wasn't paying attention to my chemicals properly. And back in the day, they used to have pool services where they would come and vacuum your pool and do all that. But now everyone's got the robot vacuum, so you don't need it. But the thing is that people aren't doing is checking the chemicals. And I'm like, I would pay for a service to come do that. And then Bree was tattooing the wife of Pools by Angelo, and they're like, we just started this new service. And I was like, come on, right? So it's exactly that service where they just come and check your chemicals. But to the point is that, you know, you don't have to be like the best. You just have to be good, like really, really good. And you got to make sure that you're saving people time and you're professional and you show up. Yeah. And actually, one of my former clients is Andrew. He owns Excelsior Auto Detailing, and he like just by being like good at what he was doing, he built that business. They got a location, and it's not anything special business. It's like, I saw a post recently about like people complaining about, you know, all the rich people have all the money, and, you know, it's a classic like kind of like victim mentality. And the one of the comments in it was like, you know, oh yeah, give me $10 million and I'll be able to do what, you know, Elon Musk did or whatever it may be. But it's like, it's not about the $10 million. You can start a business from zero, essentially. Like, I'm assuming that the auto detailing business wasn't this like huge investment. You know, there was probably some money. You bought vans.
$5,000. Yeah. It was zero. It was funny. So sorry to interrupt, but to that point, it was like, when I started it, what I would do is I started off with just an $80 sign in front of my house. I lived on Cabana Road, so Cabana and Dominion. So I knew I had a traffic light right in front of my house that stopped people to look around. And when people would call the sign, the day before, I'd say, let me come and quote you first, and then I'll come do the work. And I was essentially doing, I'd go and I'd see the job, I'd quote them, and then I'd go buy the stuff for it, because I knew I was just going to get paid the next day and it would pay for it. So it self-funded itself in a way, right? But it was just as simple as that.
You don't have to overcomplicate it. No. But I do love what you did, though, that once you saw your ability to execute on the detailing business, then you're like, okay, I need to start looking into like a bigger pot, essentially. And I think that's like one of the big mistakes I made in business, was that I got planted in the pot of like hospitality, of like restaurants and everything. And I think there is the ability to grow really quickly. I just think that it's more difficult in, you know, one of the most difficult industries. Like, I think everyone agrees that the restaurant industry is probably one of the most difficult industries to make money in. And so no one will loan you money, all of the stuff that goes along with that. But I just got, without being aware of the pot that I was in, I got kind of just trapped in there. Right. And so once I finally had the awareness that I was in the wrong pot, I was like, I gotta get the fuck out of here.
That was a huge part of my life. Huge part of my life in the detailing business. Exactly that. That's exactly what I said. I said, I gotta get the fuck out of here. Like, it's, because when I realized what I want outside of work, like personally, and I realized that my business can't get it for me. It could, but it would be extremely hard, and there's easier paths out there. That's when it was automatic. I'm like, I got to go to a different industry. People thought I was a little crazy at first. They're like, come on, you got a great business. It's successful. You got a good life. It's like, yeah, but it's not the life. I'm not done yet.
Right.
It's not the life. And in order to get to that, like, people were, every time I made the change from Chrysler to the detailing business to this, everyone thought I was nuts. And meanwhile, I'm looking at them I'm like, you're the one that's nuts. Like, you're like, how are you still living this life?
Yeah. No, it's so true.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's a really important part. Like, you know, like I just got back into like golfing, like really seriously back into golfing. And like the second I start golfing, I immediately, I'm taking 2 lessons a week and I'm practicing, you know, 1 time a week. I'm playing 3 times a week. And it's like, and I'm just investing all of my time and money into getting better. And then I see guys that have been golfing for 30 years and they haven't improved. Yep. And then it's like, to me, it's just like, I don't want to be doing anything where I'm not at least feeling like I'm heading, you know, even in golf is like for fun. And, you know, I recognize that partly I get a little bit too into like getting better and that consume energy. But for me, I want to move forward. And so it's like, I have a goal, right? I just hit it. I wanted to break 80 in golf and I just did it on Sunday. And so,
there you go.
Yeah. And it was just because I had a goal and I was just had the intention to move towards that destination. And eventually I was pulled there. I think that most people are not even looking to where they want to go. And it's like, if you're not looking to where you want to go, and you said it there, and I'd be interested to get what your thoughts are on this is, you said it's not the life. So what is the life?
Yeah, it's it's the biggest mistake. And I'm so glad I learned this at such a young age, where I realized like people go get a job and they start a career. Everyone's very reactive. They're like, oh, get a job, make money, then build my life. Yep. And then one day they'll wake up and realize I didn't get to build the life that I wanted to build. Because either their job didn't give them the time, the job didn't give them the money.
Or they never asked the question of what life is it they want to build.
Yes.
Yeah.
For me, I asked myself all the time. It was in the beginning. It's like, what's the life I want to have? Yeah. And I'm solving my own problem. Like, it's like, okay, this is the life I want to have. Where I'm at today won't get it for me. Make the change. And that's where it was every time the decision was so easy, where I'm like, I did enough homework. You know, I studied for 2 years about the recruitment industry before I dove into the recruitment industry, because I wanted to be certain that that's the business that's going to give me the life I want to have. Yeah. Right. And it was the same thing between, you know, my engineering career to the car wash business. That was about a year of studying and really learning and testing and trialing before actually taking the full decision. But when I made it, it was the world's easiest decision. Yeah. So it was because of the homework and the time that I put in, talking to people, watching YouTube videos, trying it, like literally just trying it. Like some people, they come up to me like, I'm thinking of starting a business. I'm like, well, just do it, man. Like, you don't have to quit your job or anything. Just if there's a service you want to do, put a sign up. Yeah. See if someone calls it. If someone calls it, go figure it out. Go wing it. Just wing it and just try it. Get your hands dirty, right? And you'd be surprised what you'll learn along the way.
Yeah. And I think people get wrapped up in this idea that a business is like a brick and mortar, you know, a storefront or whatever that may be. But it's just like, you can make a business out of anything. And like the first company I started, I was 16 years old, was squeaky clean window washing. And literally, there you go. I know now I am not, like, you sound like you're definitely better at delaying gratification than I am. I'm more of like a build the plane while flying it kind of guy. So it's like literally I was like, I had the idea to start a window washing company. I found a guy that was washing windows in Chatham. I said, hey, can I come work with you for a few days for free? He's like, yeah, sure. He was this older guy. He was super nice. So this is everything you need. The next day I went and bought the ladders and the squeegees. The next day I started knocking on people's doors and said, do you want your windows washed?
That's it.
And it's like, it was like within a week I had created a concept for a business. Well, I mean, I didn't create it, but I tuned into a concept for a business, learned how to do it. You know, and started knocking on people's doors. In the beginning, did I suck? Yeah, but I was super nice. If the customer was disappointed, I went back and I corrected it. Yeah. And I just started this business from like literally, I think the investment in that business was, 3 days of free labor. Yeah. And then $500 of ladders and squeegees. And I had a business. I turned that thing into making like $100,000 a year. And I was like a kid. Yeah. You know,
I was making more money washing people's cars than I was like as an engineer. Like I was doing about $200,000 a year in just car washes. Yeah. And a lot of it was cash too. So which helps, which everybody loves.
We'll delete that part out.
Delete that part out. It's okay. It's too late.
Let me ask you this though, because this is a question that comes up to mind, is like the feeling that I have, you know, is that everyone that is half decent ends up wanting to do their own thing. Right. And this is where I get trapped with employees and everything, you know, like even Zach here, who's films, like, he's like, we were open about it, but I know eventually he wants to go out and be his own guy, right? And which is fine, because then I'll just hire him as his own guy if I have to, right? But I am finding that one of the problems that I've had over and over and over again is when I finally find someone who is like, I'm like, this person could run this company top to bottom, you know, or they could be my media guy or whatever it may be. They're so good that they're immediately thinking the way you thought, was like, I got to go out and create this.
Yeah.
So like you being in the employment, like, where do you think we're shifting to like a market where everybody is essentially self-employed? Like, that's what I feel like is coming, but I mean, I could be wrong. I don't know.
It's out there. It is. It's so, there's a lot of internet that influences a lot of people.
Yeah, sure.
There's a lot of internet.
Well, I think everybody is focused on being number one, like, you know,
Yes.
and I think a lot of people would be way better being a number 2, 3, or 4, or 5, right? You know, it's like I just know because of my ability to execute, like if I was Barry Zuckelman's second, I would be way richer than I am now, you know?
Yeah.
and it's just because like I'm a person who can get shit done, right?
Yeah.
And I built an entire retreat center in like a year and a half,
Yeah.
you know? And so it's like that ability under the right person, you know, you can go through the roof. And I think my mentor once asked me a question: would you rather own 100% of $1 million company or 50% of $1 billion company? And everyone goes, well, of course, 50% of $1 billion company. But when really faced with that decision, I think most people would take the 100% of the $1 million company. Right. And that's what I'm seeing. So I don't know. I always want to get your take on like, because you're dealing with, I'm assuming, like really high quality employees, right? And so are you finding that there are still people out there that want to just go and be number 2s or 5s or whatever that may be?
Well, the bulk of my work, although it's, you know, the CPG stands for Careers, People, Growth. We're trying to really create careers in businesses, and growing these businesses with the right people. Some jobs are just always going to be jobs. And most people today, they're just looking for that next job.
Yeah.
There's a lot of factors to it where you have obviously the cost of living and all this stuff that they're just looking for. Everyone's in survival mode. 95% of the people that we're meeting with are in survival mode of I need to get a good job. And then once in a blue moon, we have someone who's in a comfortable place that's trying to position themselves to improve their career. Now, on the side of when we factor in like the business owner trying to build their team and they know that, you know, their employees will come and go, or the employees one day will start their own thing. I had this recent epiphany. It's funny you mentioned that. It was literally like 2 days ago. I was driving, I was talking to a friend of mine, and I'm like, you know what? It's part of the recipe. It's part of the job description of an entrepreneur. If you were to write down the job description of an entrepreneur, there's lots there. And one of them that no one's ever really gone out and said it. Part of the job description is to deal with people coming and going in and out of your business.
Yeah, 100%.
It's part of the job description. I don't think it's very rare to find the one person that sticks with you for forever.
Yep.
Very rare. When that happens, it's awesome. But even then, in those businesses where, let's say you do have that one person that sticks by your side, becomes your vice president, is there your whole life, there's probably another 50, 100, 1,000 employees that came and left at 100%. The same time. So your percentage of keeping your people is probably 1%. So even then, it's still part of your job description. You just got lucky with one person.
Yeah. And I think that was a really great point. I think if business owners like get rid of the expectation that someone is going to stay with them forever, then, you know, then that kind of like, it creates, you then shift to a nurturing while they're with you, and even almost preparing them for the next thing and recognizing that eventually they are going to go and do their own thing or go to another company. And then you gotta be more of like this, I guess it's like a better trainer, a better hirer.
Yeah.
You know, and just because it is true. Like I think just thinking back to Treehouse alone, it's like, you know, I own Treehouse. I bought it when I was 22. And I just sold it a couple of years ago. So it's like I owned it for like 21 years. I probably employed over those 21 years 3,000 people. Yeah. You know, just that. It was just turnover. Yeah. It was insane. It was so much turnover. And you're right. It is a part of like being a business owner.
It's part of the game.
It's how fast can you transition when you lose key players.
Yes.
And if you're able to do that, and you know, maybe by hiring a company like you, right, then it definitely helps, right? So there are ways of actually
increasing your odds to having the right people for a much longer period in time. My interview, for me, I never look at anybody's resume. For me personally, if they want to work with me, I want to know who they are as a person. What do they want to achieve?
Yeah.
And what do they want to do every single day? What do they define as a career for them that excites them every day? And if that career is here, then I know that I think I've hired somebody that is passionate about building their career, and I'm just the tool for them. And in the time frame that they are in my business, that they're going to have a good time, right? And we're going to grow together. So for me, my interview process is very unique of really getting to know who the person is, and what do they want, and also extending it. Like it's not just one meeting. Like I'm talking to you for 2-3 months.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I'm talking to you for 2-3 months. Like I'm always talking to people. Like, right. I've had someone come into my office yesterday. She's a recruiter. I'm not hiring for a recruiter, but I know she's a recruiter. And I'm like, I want to get to know this person for maybe one day. If we're still talking and we really see that there's a fit, then one day it's just one phone call away to say, come work for me. Right.
Yeah. Right.
So for me, I'm always talking to people and intentionally, because I think the interview process it's not an interview. It's me and them meeting and knowing if we will be a great team.
Yeah.
You can't know that over one meeting. You got to just constantly keep getting to know each other. And the more they know about my business and the problems I have, my question to them is, can you be my solution? Like when I hired my operations manager, I took her to a restaurant. I said, this is the headache I have every single day. This is every headache. And I listed them for her. I'm like, if you're coming in, I need you to fix this headache. If you can't fix this headache, please refer me to a friend who could.
Right.
These are my headaches. If you can't fix these headaches, it's not going to work. So let me, and then obviously with me, I have the leverage. I said to her, I'm like, I could get you any job. I own a recruiting company. It doesn't have to be with me. You're in a no-lose situation. So me being just transparent, saying, this is my headache that I have. Can you fix it? That's all I want to hear. Right. And I think most businesses, they lack that. They always are trying to find out more about that person that's in front of them, rather than them just saying, listen, this is the headache that we have every day. Can you take care of it? Like, are you the person to fix this problem for me?
Yeah,
right?
I like that too, because it's like hey, this is what I'm already kind of laying out like the expectations beforehand, and just seeing if they're confident in actually delivering that solution for you. Yeah,
because headaches are very different than job descriptions. A job description is you're an operations manager, you're supposed to track this many people and do reportings, all this stuff. But a headache is my customers are calling, complaining that they can't get a hold of my staff.
Yeah.
I need you to monitor that. That's a headache. That's not in the job description, right? So there's a big difference. And I think for us, forget the job description. I value my headaches. If you take care of my headaches, and we've got no problem. Everything else is just cake. It's bonus.
Yeah,
right?
100%.
And I think people need to incorporate bringing their headaches, not the job description, put that at the table in the beginning as you're getting to know somebody, to really know if somebody's going to come and give you a peace of mind when they're working for you in the business, no matter what that business is.
Yeah, and I think a thing that gets lost in hiring is that everyone's kind of like putting on like a front. Essentially, it's like the employees put it on the front, the employers put it on the front, and you don't actually ever really get to know that person until you spend a good amount of time with them. So I'm guessing that's the gap you're bridging for employers is this. You're being like, hey, I know this person. I know they're a good fit. We've talked several times. I have a feel for what their abilities are and how confident they are, whatever it may be. Right.
Yeah.
So,
and my customers, when we're first meeting them, they think we're just another recruitment company. But when I start talking about it, like, give me the headache, like what are you trying to accomplish here? Then they realize, wait a minute, there's something different about this business. Like they're really trying to get to the pulse of the business issues, which then makes our life a lot easier. Because when I understand what an entrepreneur, a business owner, or a management team's trying to accomplish, all I got to do is just match make them with the right person. That really builds, and that falls into then company culture and careers and all this stuff. Like it's just that simple in the beginning, just paying attention to the problems that you have and that finding people that are solutions for it. And then back to that previous point, people will come and go in our business. I think that's always going to be the case. The sooner we accept it, as long as us, the entrepreneurs, we have a vision, we know the direction we're going. Yeah. The worst thing you could have is letting your employees stop you from getting there.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, the whole world is trying to stop you from getting there, let alone your own employees. If your own employees are stopping you from getting to the goal, then say bye-bye.
Yeah, let's circle back to the leap from Chrysler to starting your own thing. And one of the things I'm actually really interested in is the fact of like the pushback you got from friends, family, colleagues, whatever that may be. You know, I experienced very similar. You know, throughout my family. You know, and his family is who I would think it kind of has the most influence kind of on you. And so like every step of the way, I actually my uncle. He's a big head honcho at Chrysler. I don't know if you know Marcel Bro.
He's my buddy. I'd call him right. He's a good guy.
Yeah. So like
he's a good guy. I worked with him.
Yeah. So my uncle, like super well respected, started from the bottom, working at Chrysler, driving forklift, and moved all the way up to plant manager, and then he was the head of world class manufacturing.
I just seen him the other day. 2 weeks ago, I seen him.
Yeah. So it's like he just built this great career, and so that my aunt and uncle kind of like helped raise me, and so that was the path that they knew worked because they built a great life. Now, granted, he worked 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, pretty much. But for all intents and purposes, from the outside looking in, they have a great life. You know, they got the 2 kids. I had that boat back in the house, nice house. They got money. You know, like, and so. But when he got me a job at Chrysler as like a TPT, and it was a really, really terrible job. I was like cleaning the paint booths.
Oh my God. Okay.
It was like, it was with like some alternative company. So every weekend I would have to go in there, you suit up in this white suit and mask, and we're using all these chemicals and they had to be perfect. Like, you know, anyways, I did that for like 2 weeks and I'm like, fuck this. I'm like, I am not doing this. Yeah. And so I quit, and my uncle was pissed and my aunt and uncle were pissed. But that's right after that's when I started my window washing company. And then they gave me pushback on that. And they're like, oh, you know, it's hard to make it in business and this and that. And so kind of every step of the way. And then I bought Treehouse, and they're like, oh, that's a big risk. Right. And then I sold Treehouse. They're like, are you sure it's a really good business? You know? And so it was like what I see in them, and it's all out of love. So it's like, this is not judgment on them. What I see in them though, is they are very risk adverse. And so they always wanted me to stay in the safety of the known. But you know, as well as I do, is like there's no growth in the known, right? And so you have to push beyond. And I was not risk adverse whatsoever. Still, I'm not. And because of that, I was able to make these leaps. But what I had to learn how to do is, I guess I didn't really have to learn. It was kind of like it was who I was. It didn't matter that they said that to me. Like, it
never mattered.
Yeah.
It never mattered. It makes you think about it a little bit. But other than that, your mind, when your mind's made up, your mind's made up.
Yeah.
But your mind's made up because you saw something or something influenced you to say, this is the direction I want to go and no one can stop me. Like that's, everyone has that in them. And in the topic of business. So for me, it was, immigrant family, came here, I was 8 years old. Watched my dad go through hell. That was, and one day I realized, and I'm happy I realized this when I was very, very young. I was maybe 19 years old. And I said to myself, my dad, he did well enough to put me through school. I walked out of engineering with an engineering degree and no debt.
Nice.
Not a lot of people could say that.
Yep.
And I've always been very observant of people, and I knew I was in such an advantage to somebody who would have dreamed to not just have a degree with no debt, but to maybe even get into a university, or maybe even whatever it is at such a young age, at the disadvantage, maybe the fact that I have 2 parents and it's a healthy home, the fact that I have, I had everything lined up. Like, when I was 16, my dad got me a car. I lived a life where my dad worked so hard to give me something that, we weren't wealthy by any means, but as far as like the basics, he set me up that here, you're about to enter the world with 0 headaches. Yeah. And I'm like, what a shame if that went to waste.
Yeah, for sure.
If that went to waste, somebody who would have looked at me and said, Christian, I would have dreamed to have what you have, would have looked at me and like spat in my face for ruining it. And that to me was the ultimate driving force. I'm like, I can't let this go to waste. Because my dad didn't have it growing up, and I watched the hell that he had to go through. He came from a country that was at war and no money, and his dad died when he was 19, and he had to leave and work on a ship by himself and send money back home and all this stuff. And I'm like, this guy went through a lot. He gave me an advantage, and most people in our society, they don't realize the advantage they have, that they waste it. I was lucky to realize I didn't want to waste it. So,
what do you think? What do you think made your? What do you think connected you to that? Because, this is something, I have a buddy that his dad played in the NHL, and him and his brother are basically complete opposites. He is like been in this place of such gratitude for the opportunities you've been given, and the other one I would say is essentially like kind of like, for lack of a better term, like entitled, right? And so it's like, what do you think it was? You know, was it the fact that you had that good home?
Exactly what it was.
Okay,
well, it was one moment that made me. There was one moment that made me realize, wait a minute, I got it really good, and I can't let this go to waste. And I was living on residence in college, and I'd come home and visit. And one day I came home, and this was in front of me my whole life. It was right in front of me. There's sometimes in your life you have something right in front of you, you don't see it. Yeah. But then one day I just saw it. In our backyard, we had a round plastic table the size of this, literally like, it's a table that you could buy it for $20. It's plastic you put your 4 plastic legs with plastic chairs around it.
Sure.
And I was looking at that table in our backyard, and it's been there for many years. And then I remembered, I'm like, when I was 8 years old and we came to this country, that was our dining room table. Mm-hmm. I remember it was like, that was our dining room table for 3 years. It was in our living room, and my mom put a sheet on top of it, and we sat on plastic. And then the patio furniture, they have these straw kind of wicker style chairs, not the fancy ones that we have now, like really just like picture a 1950s wicker chair that's like, it doesn't look like it'll hold you up. That was our living room set. And right now it's sitting on our front patio and sitting there, right? And I looked and I was like, because now I'm a little older, and, you know, I'm living on residence. I have my own furniture. And I was like, what if that was my dining room table? Like now, right? I pictured, I was like, you know, you go into someone's house right now, you see a plastic dining room table, and you see an outdoor furniture that's from the 50s as the couch. Right. And I'm like, my parents were adults. They were 40 years old, and they went through that.
Yes.
Right? Picture yourself. How old are you right now?
45.
45. Imagine you had a plastic table as a dining room table, right?
Yeah.
So that's when I was like, shit, like they went through it. I feel like I'm going to cry right now. So
it happens. It's a space.
That happened. When I walked home and I saw that, I was like, holy smokes.
Yeah.
Like that was the wake up call. I'm like, don't let this go to waste.
Yeah.
Don't let it go to waste. So then when at the time I thought it was, you know, get the engineering degree, work at Chrysler. So I'm working in my first year, you know, I made 95 grand on paper is what it showed.
Yep.
And life was great, you know, had a nice car, was able to buy my first house. So I'm checking off this list, but then I'm like, that came a little too easy. I'm like, what else do I have? Right. It just, because that fuel inside me was like, don't let this go to waste. If it's easy, check it off and go on to the next one. Right. Yep. So then, so there was a moment in time when I was at Chrysler, and I always think that the future is always in front of you. And by that is there's someone out there that has lived through the path that you want to go on.
Sure.
See how they're living. Right. So working at Chrysler, initially my mind was, you know, start off, get promoted, go to the next position, all this stuff. So I would look at my boss, my boss's boss, my boss's boss's boss. Like I looked up the whole entire ranking, and I'm like, how are their lives looking? What does their life look like? And at the time I was 23 years old. So it was a very simple way of calculating. I was like, who has a Ferrari?
Yeah, right.
That's what I want to know. I'm like, who within the site has a Ferrari? I couldn't find anybody with a Ferrari. So then I'm like, these guys have been in the company for 20 years and they don't have a Ferrari. What the hell? Like that was my measurement. That's how I did it. Right. Yeah. So I'm like, well, if no one has it, then what the hell? It's only a matter, like, I'm just going to spend 20 years and not get one. Then I did the math. I was like, okay, this is my salary now. And I know the salaries because everything is ranked. You know the salary of your directors, all this stuff. So then I did the math. I'm like, in order to get a Ferrari, it costs, you know, $300,000. I got to save 300 grand. So I started doing the math year over year. Okay, if I save, you know, at the time making 100 grand a year, I was saving about $14,000 a year, which is 14% as a single guy. Okay. After taxes, this is pure money saved, right? So take 100 grand, take away to the government. So I'm taking home, it was about 70. Then there's cost of living and then 14, 15 ish. So then like, if I save 15 grand a year, it'll take me to save how many 15 grands are there? 15,000 and 300. A lot. Yeah. That's like 20 years. Yeah. And I didn't get to buy a house yet. I didn't buy a house yet. I didn't have a family. So I'm like, it's impossible. I'm like, there's got to be another way. So then I went on to YouTube and it's like, how do you make lots of money is what I typed in. And everybody started showing up. Like all these business owners, the Jeff Bezos, the Elon Musk, and I was like, everybody's a business owner. So then I'm like, well, that seems like the solution to my problem. Like I saw that, I'm like, well, I guess I got to get into business. And that was where I'm like, well, now which business is it going to be? And then I started doing the math and started figuring things out, which then led to the detailing business. And then I did the same exact thing from the detailing business to the recruitment business was, okay, I want to get to this exponential growth. And I had learned along the way, I said, you know what, there's certain characteristics of a business that you need to have in order for it to be a global business. I truly want to have a global company.
Sure. Yeah.
So from there, I'm like, well, what's going to be the industry that's proven that it could be global? What's going to be the industry that's going to be a high ticket item? What's going to be the industry that's a necessity, not a luxury? And let's find it.
Yeah.
And that's where I came across the recruitment business.
Wait, what do you think gave you that ability? Because that's a really unique ability to step back out of like what you're in and just be like, okay, these are the things that I need to, you had this ability to observe what was going on in the area. Like most people get stuck in like head down, like a lot of business owners for sure get trapped in like operations and they never actually take the time to like have this head up time, right? Which sounds like you're like really good at having head up time because it's like you had that in Chrysler, you had that when you started the business, now you had it again when you made the shift to this recruitment. So it's like, do you think there's a reason why you're like that, or do you think it's just like a natural God-given gift?
I think there's an element to myself, like I'm not, because I've done it so much, I've trained myself to now always be observant and be curious and look around. But in the beginning, my vacations, like most people, they take a vacation, they go get blasted for a week, melt their brain, and then go back to work.
Yeah.
For me, the moment I had this itch, it's like, what am I going to do? And I had this, like when I have the realization, I always treated my vacations like I'd have my fun, but there was always time to get away to just let me reset. Yeah. There was a reset time. And my reset was, maybe it could even be one day. Sometimes I'm like, today's not the day to go in the office. I need to reset. I don't want to talk to nobody. I need to reset.
Yep.
Okay. It could be just hanging out, doing nothing for a day of just let me just reprogram my brain. Let me watch. And what I'll do is I'll put on YouTube and I'll let it run of good, valuable content. Like I'll put whatever it is, the issue that I'm trying to figure out. I think one day I just realized the answer is always out there. I think if everybody could just acknowledge for 2 seconds that the problems you have, you're not unique. Someone else has gone through them. That was when I realized I'm like, the answers are out there. Someone else went through this. I'm not special. I'm not the only one. I'm not the guy there's nobody, even the guys who you think have invented something that never existed. They didn't. Like it existed in some way, shape, or form. Someone else had gone through it, right? So the moment I realized that there's so many people around you, not even far away, like it could be someone locally, a phone call away that has already gone through it.
Yep.
That's when I realized I'm like, life's pretty easy. Whenever you have a problem, just make a phone call. Make a phone call. So I choose to pick those days wherever I'm in a slum, or if I feel like there's always energies. Some weeks I know I'm like, everyone's having a bad week. There's an energy in the air. There's something there, right? Some weeks are great weeks. It's like, all right, let's take advantage of this, right? Everyone's picking up the phone calls. We can get things done, right? So I'm good on reading energy. And for me, I acknowledge anytime I get a chance to just, if today's not the day, take a chance to just reset and make a phone call, ask for help. A lot of people, they keep things internally to themselves and they don't ask.
Yep.
They don't ask. They feel like it's an ego that stops them or whatever it may be. I was always the first in the classroom. My hand went up the most every time, even as a kid. I have a question. I don't understand this. Explain it to me. Meanwhile, there's other people. It's like, holy shit, no one needs the explanation. I just want to leave. It's like, no, I need the explanation. I need to understand. Like, always ask questions. So I think that's my strongest weapon is asking questions and acknowledging that I don't know everything. I just got to find the person who does and then learn from them.
Yeah, that's it. And like that whole premise that you're talking about, that disconnection, like that's why I created Lungo Vita. It's like someone can come out to Lungo Vita because like we have like it's not like a party place. There's no music.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to listen to music, you have to bring your AirPods. And so people will feel more recharged from 2 nights at Lungo Vita than they will on a 7-night all-inclusive vacation in Mexico, right? Because we know what those vacations look like, right? And so that ability to disconnect is what gets you connected. Now, the only thing I would tell you is that, you're right that all the answers already exist, but there's like even an ability to connect to them beyond like Google,
Yeah.
You know, which is like Akashic records or whatever you want to call it. But that's what's been happening to you when you take that time to reset. It's like, this is why all of our best ideas come to us in the shower, is because we finally like let the mind quiet for a second, and then boom, the ideas start flowing in. Right. And so, yeah, it's really interesting to kind of, you know, just listen to your process of how you were able to take these step back from, you know, because like I said, the mistake I made in business was that I never took that step back until I started doing this work and like becoming more aware.
Yeah.
And then when I finally did lift my head up from just grinding and trying to make money, I was like, I'm in the wrong business.
Yeah.
And, you know,
It's honestly, I think it was just even on that point, there was one exercise that I did. So everyone dreams of something that they want to have. They're like, oh, I wish I could have this. I wish I could have that. I wish I could have that. And then they stop there. They don't actually take a second to how much will it cost?
yep.
No one even ask that question. So we all have our dreamers out there. Everyone's dreaming away. They want to have this. Well, ask how much will it cost, and actually go see one. Right? Like I remember I walked into a Ferrari dealership one day looking like I'm ready to buy one. Walked through it, and here we go. You know, there's one in Toronto. So I'm like, I want to know what it costs. I want to dive in. I want to just get the information, get the number. And I kept the piece of paper. Then I'm like, I just did some math. I'm like, okay, well, this is what I'm going to have to do to get one. Or if it's sometimes I do walkthroughs in houses that I know are a little bit out of my reach.
Yep.
So I'm like, I want to go see this house and just walk through it, get an idea for it, get the numbers.
Yep.
It's first of all, it's fun. You get to see something that's a little bit out of your scale. Two, you're now getting information. And we all know knowledge is power. You have the information. You could plot it all out together, right? And it's like, okay, well, if I want this, how much does it cost? This is how much it would cost me a month. Okay, well, now you just need to find the solution to get you that extra. There's the grand plan. Like I know the lifestyle I want to have is going to be like $100 million a year. That's too far. I'm not focusing on that.
Yep.
I'm focusing on what's the next step. Like it's just one extra luxury that I'd love to have. And if it comes out to, well, it's going to run me an extra $800 a month to have this luxury. Okay, well, let me figure out a way to make $800 a month.
Yep. Yeah. Keep it small. Yeah, definitely.
Keep it small, chip away. Then but always being like these. I have these on the go at all times.
Yeah.
I have these on the go, like I'm always on. I'm always like, what's the next thing? I'm the type, my stomach is not full at all. And I know what I'm chasing after that. I know I'm not even close to where I want to go. That's not for everybody. Like some people, there's levels for everybody. Some people are happy with certain level. It's irrelevant what the levels are. I always ask people, you know, in the line of work that I'm in, you know, how much money would you like to make? And some people get, they try to be modest. They're like, oh, money's not everything. So, dude, that's not what I asked you. How much money would you like to make?
Yeah.
Give me a real number that you feel your life will get a little bit better. Then they'll give me a number that's what they're making right now. Oh, I'm good, you know, 90 grand here, maybe they'll tack on 5 grand or whatever. Say, but no, really, like, is your life absolutely perfect? Like, what's the real number? And I really get them coming, they'll jump, they'll say, okay, you know what, 150 grand in my life would be a lot better.
Yep.
Okay. It's not that far out.
No, definitely.
Figure out a way to make an extra 60K. Do some math. Now it's all right. 60 grand is the buffer, right? So then now it's, what are my options out there to make me that 60 grand? Then you factor in your life. So in my detailing business, how did I start it without just leaving? I knew I was intentional. I said, I want to have a business, but it must be something that I could do outside of work. I worked 7 to 4. One of the parameters was it has to be after 5 o'clock. It has to be appointment based. So that way I could control my schedule, and it has to be something that I could come to you and do it rather than having a storefront, having costs. I wanted to keep like, that was what it was. I don't know. And then sitting down on a couch, seeing the 2 cars and the boat. And I'm like, wait a minute, that's it. Appointment based. I could come to your home. I could clean your car. It's very simple. It's low cost. It checked off everything that the parameters I established. Right. So then I would work all day, and then I'd have my appointments. The sun sets at 9 o'clock at night. I'd have my appointments from 5 to 9 and in the summertime, and I took care of it. So it's always, but it all stemmed from, what do I want? How much money do I have to make? And then just doing the math and setting some parameters. And then now spend the next year looking for it.
Yeah.
It'll show up. Right. It's kind of like when you want to go buy a house. It's very easy to say, I need 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom, big backyard. You do it when you're buying your house. You do it when you're buying, you know, certain types of clothing or whatever it is. Well, why not do it with a grand picture of your life or with your business or with the type of job? right? This is what I need to make my life better. And that's where it comes easy for me.
Yeah, I think that's like something that I have people do, in coaching is like I basically say, like, design the business around the life that you want.
Yep.
Right. And so it's like that's what you did with your detailing there. And so it's like if you don't ever get clear on what kind of life you want, you're always going to get unclear results. So it sounds like that's what you've been doing, kind of just naturally, which is an awesome ability to be able to observe and to be able to basically be solutions based. Where do you see yourself going? Like how long has this company been? How have you been running this company?
I started the company 5 years ago. Really started growing in the last 2 years to establish ourselves. But the future is I want to have, by the time I'm 55, 200 locations across North America. And we franchised our business. So we're going to be selling each location. We're past like the proof of concept here.
Nice.
We sold a couple of locations. I'd like to, within the next 5 years, have a good handful of locations where now we're not doing any of the recruiting. It's now we've opened up, 30 locations, et cetera, and created the lifestyle this business gave me. I want to sell that. I want to give that to people that are in my industry that want to have their own business. So hopefully by the time I'm 55, we'll have 200 of these sold. And that's when one of the billion-dollar companies will come out and write me a check, hopefully. And because there's a lot of billion-dollar companies in my industry. Yeah. That's one thing too. We talked about like the limiting of, that's why you got out of the restaurant and sales stuff. So I studied an industry, and I part of the requirement was there has to be multi-billion-dollar companies in that industry, because those are the guys that will buy you. If you ever want to get bought out, you gotta just accept you're not going to beat them. They're just going to buy you at some point. Sure. So they have a whole department just mergers and acquisitions and that's how they grow. They don't start up anything anymore. They go and take a business and they add it to their pile. So the moment I realized that in business, for me, that created the path for me. So that's where I'm hoping to get to in the next 20 years. Yeah. But that's the direction, but I focus on what do I got to do tomorrow, and just chip away at it. Focus on chip away at it. It's not one big thing. I always get the question of what makes you guys different. I have to sit with you for 4 hours to tell you what makes us different, because there's so many little things that when you put it together, it's different. Right. And that's got to be, I think, what people need to focus on. It's just the small things every day that count.
So man, success is simple. It's just doing small daily tasks consistently, and then you basically get it. But yeah, man, this has been a great conversation. I appreciate you taking the time to come in. And I think any young entrepreneur or inspiring entrepreneur will get a ton of value from it. So we'll have to do it again in a couple of years.
Come by, not a couple of years. No, man, come by. I'm 4 minutes away. You could walk. Well,
yeah, well, I will. Yeah, I'll just walk over. We'll have lunch.
Walk over. I'd love for you to come and see our place and get to know each other more, man. No, it was a pleasure.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, thanks for taking the time
thank you.
to come on. If you like the podcast, don't forget, hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you again next Sunday. Sweet.
Yeah, great conversation.
Yeah, man. It was awesome.